Welcome in, welcome in. It is the football kickback. I am your host, the Sam D. What a week. Week 12 of the NFL season. What the hell did we just witness? Josh Jacobs with the walk-off in OT at Seattle with 85 yards. 85 yards with the walk-off. That was an amazing game. Gino looked good. Derek Carr was spotty, got hurt early. There's a lot going on with that game. But man, it's a lot to go over here. The 4 o'clock slate way better than the 1 o'clock. I know the 1 o'clock had some decent endings, some exciting finishes. Jacksonville, there was some stuff going on. That was great to see Trevor Lawrence kind of take a step. Kinda, at least that's what we're thinking. He took a step. Like, did Trevor Lawrence take a step and getting that win against Lamar and them? Was that a step? Fresh off Urban Meyer yesterday saying how, the Ohio State University was going to stop the run, and then Michigan proceeded to run all over them. Now we see yet again another reason why Urban Meyer's on the set, and we got Trevor Lawrence out here actually getting some dubs in a big spot. So Trevor Lawrence and the Jags go ahead and get that done. But the 4 o'clock window, Raiders, Seahawks, Josh Jacobs again with the 85-yarder. Arizona and the Chargers. I think we should start there. And I think we should start there because there's a lot here. Is anyone watching Hard Knocks? The in season of Hard Knocks we have with just turn this down a little bit. And we have the Hard Knocks in season on HBO. And it's following the Cardinals. So you get to see Kingsbury, you get to see Kyler Murray and the injuries that he's dealing with. You get to see J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins. You get to see all the enigmas that are floating around the Arizona Cardinals. And they haven't won a game the whole time of Hard Knocks. So they've been mired in the losing streak. They went to Mexico City and took a L. Kyler Murray missed 2 games. Colt McCoy, no wait, they did win 1 game. Colt McCoy did get them to 1 win in Kyler Murray's 2-week absence. So they're 1-1 without Kyler Murray. But with Kyler Murray, they have yet to win a game in Hard Knocks. And if you noticed, leading up to today's game, there were reports that Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury kind of had to sit down and have a one-to-one, kind of have a heart-to-heart to kind of clear the air. And that's something where if you're paying attention to the Hard Knocks, you kind of see that happening. And it's interesting to see with all the stuff we heard about Kyler in the offseason, getting that extension that has a whole bunch of funny money in, right? What is 160 M's, that same nonsense contract that the Ravens were foolish enough to offer Lamar Jackson. But you have that contract, and then they had the stipulation with the Call of Duty stuff in there, and he has to pay more attention to his craft. And, basically they gave him homework. They assigned him homework in a $160 million contract. Wild. They then had to walk that back because the public got the wind of it, and people were either laughing at Kyler Murray or chastising the players union for allowing it to happen. So both sides had to walk that back. But Kyler Murray, with that contract, they have entrusted to him the keys. They have handed him the keys, and it's been mixed results so far. They've given him a lot of help. He has a good running game with James Conner. He has DeAndre Hopkins, who is a top 5, top 3, he would say top 2 and not 2 receiver in the league. And they have ancillary pieces around him. Hollywood Brown, even though we know what he is, we know the Ravens foolishly entrusted him to be a number 1. But he's in this proper slotting now, number 2, number 3 with the Cardinals because they still got A.J. Green. So we have all these weapons. They had Zach Ertz before Ertz got hurt. So the Cardinals have all these weapons. Kyler Murray should be slicing and dicing with his ability to be a dual threat QB, which is all the rage, which is going to be the mainstay in this league from here on out, and get us a bunch of mid. But is it mid because of Kyler Murray or is it mid because of Cliff Kingsbury? And I think ultimately, just off watching, these first 3 weeks of the in-season Hard Knocks, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit both. There are times where I see like, oh yeah, Kingsbury's a little over his head. And then there's times where I'm like, oh, I don't know if Kyler Murray is him. But a lot was entrusted, and this was a game today that they should have gotten. They had the Chargers down, and then they allowed Jay Herbo, managed Jay Herbo, who looked healthy or healthier for the first time in a minute. Keenan Allen back, still no Mike Williams. Austin Eckler, the ground game didn't do much, but Eckler out the backfield is a terror, and he was that again today. So the Chargers were able to put numbers up and come back against a Cardinals defense that they sure as hell get a lot of runtime on this Hard Knocks. J.J. Watt is J.J. Watt. He loves the camera, right? So we understand that. But Buda Baker's getting some good run. Your man's Humphreys is getting some good run in the secondary. So there's a lot that's going on there with this Cardinals that they're really pushing to the forefront. And all these guys are not living up to expectations as the Chargers, steal one off. I don't know if the Cardinals tricked this one off or if the Chargers stole this one. But when you look at it, is that when it comes right down to it, the Cardinals don't have an identity. And I talked about this on last week's stream when it came to the Eagles in regards to, if I ask you, what do the Arizona Cardinals, what is their first thing that they establish on offense? Are they a run-first team? Are they a run to set up the pass? Are they a play-action team? Are they a stretch-to-field deep team? What are they? What is the identity? You can't tell me it because we don't know what Cliff Kingsbury is on. And with Kyler Murray, sometimes it looks like he wants to run. Sometimes it looks like he wants to be a drop-back quarterback. He's kind of all over the place. He hasn't really settled in, except for the fact that when he runs, he's dynamic. There's no way around that. The fact of the matter is that their offense? Are they going to give him, I believe early, the rookie year for sure, he had a lot of designed runs, and he's a smaller dude. So I understand while, heading into year 3, 4, and then they re-upped him, let's peel back on some of those design runs. We don't want him to take the punishment. He hasn't been the most healthy already, so let's kind of fall back. I understand that, but the problem is you drafted him to be dynamic. If you're going to restrict the one half of him that makes him dynamic, then you're left with a guy that's a short, minuscule QB that has to have humongous throwing lanes to throw over the top. You don't give that 160 M's. So you have to make your mind up if you're the Cardinals, where are you in it for the long haul and you're just going to ride this Kyler Murray train no matter where it goes? Even if it derails your franchise, you're going to ride this train. Is that what you're here to do? Or you're going to be sitting here micromanaging, picking apart what he can and can't do? So the Cardinals, to me, are a thing here where it's very hard to distinguish what their identity is. And that, to me, is going to be the problem with Cliff Kingsbury and why I think he should be gone. I don't know if ownership or front office will echo that, but he certainly hasn't shown anything. He hasn't been a winner. He had Patrick Mahomes in college, tricked it off. He's been around Manziel, tricked it off. He's gone to the league and he has now inherited Kyler Murray, tricked it off. Cliff Kingsbury hasn't shown to have the acumen to be able to have these type of talented QBs around him and flourish. There's a lot of tap dancing in regards to, the credit that he's given for Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. You know who I haven't heard too much talk about Cliff Kingsbury's impact on Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech? Patrick Mahomes. He may have said it. I'm sure there's someone's asked him about it and he give him, the token praise that he has to. But in regards to the development of Patrick Mahomes, we know who that is. That's at minimum Andy Reid. Obviously Patrick came into the league with a skill set that was top tier off rip. But in terms of the development, we got to get that to Andy Reid, not no damn Cliff Kingsbury, especially when he had a losing record as a coach. We not about to do that. So the Arizona Cardinals, they're in a position here where I don't know what they should do. Should the Arizona Cardinals clean house, including the front office? That's a big ask. Everyone's been gone. Everyone's been jettisoned. They had Josh Rosen, got rid of him. They've had multiple coaching changes. They have had franchise quarterbacks come and gone. They have franchise receivers come and gone. Franchise running backs come and gone. Franchise players on defense come and gone. The only mainstay that's still there, the common denominator, is the GM. Is it time for, what's his name, Steve Keim? Steve Keim, I believe that's his name. Is it time for Keim to get up out the paint? if Bidwell can take some time off from flying his plane every day and realize that the common denominator for the reason why his team hasn't had any success when the Cardinals have been a team that's been hyped up for at least the last 2 years as a team that's on the rise, on the come up. They made the playoffs and then they tricked that off. Like, there was supposed to be a thing. It has never really come to fruition. They have yet to reach their potential and anywhere close to it, to keep it a buck with you. The Raiders. Let's go ahead and get at Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs did a thing today, and if you look at the stats, you could say Derek Carr was resilient. You could say Davante Adams is him, even though the numbers weren't that dominant. I mean, 11 targets still, so they definitely tried to get Davante Adams the ball, which to me is more so, it's almost more important than to have double-digit targets for your number one receiver than to actually have double-digit receptions for your number one receiver. I mean, it's great if you could get both, obviously, but the fact that they still went to him 11 times, 7 receptions, but 11 targets, that means to me you're still trying to establish that your guy is still the guy. Your number one is still that number one, and we're going to treat him as such and force the defense to pay attention to him all game. And when you have a guy like Davante Adams, he gets double or at least safety help. And what does that do? That's one less dude to stop the run. And what happens when you have one less dude to stop the run? Josh Jacobs goes for 229 yards. That's kind of how that works. That's where if you force feed your number one and make the defense pay attention to that number one receiver on every down, that's one less guy that's in the box. That's one less guy that's on the next level when the offensive linemen are there looking for someone to lay out. Now you have a tackle on a safety instead of a tackle on a linebacker. Like, this is the type of stuff that happens when you have less people available in the box. Once you get to that second level, that third level opens up. There is no one there. And that's essentially what happened with Josh Jacobs on that 85-yard walk-off TD run. There was no one there once he got to the second level. Second level, it was a foot race once he got to the second level. Here's the thing with the Raiders, and I talked about this on the DCMD podcast. The link is in the description. Subscribe and rate, 5-star, nothing less, tell a friend. The thing with the Raiders is I don't know if they're a quarterback away. This year was supposed to answer if the Raiders were a quarterback away. The perennial question prior to that was always, are the Raiders for real? Because they've always been teetering on, they have talent. I mean, they had, John Gruden before, the racist, $100 million man. So there was a lot of hype just off having him. But just overall, the Raiders always seem to have just enough talent to be in contention, hovering. But this year, though, with Derek Carr, bringing in his man's Davante Adams, who is a bona fide top 5 receiver in this league, and then putting up numbers that show you and prove to you that, yes, he is a top 5 receiver in this league, then you're like, all right, well, then Derek Carr must be shining. Not so much. It's a bunch of mid with Derek Carr. And if you bring in his college teammate, he's had a lot of years. They had Darren Waller last year. They have showcased Josh Jacobs the last few years. They're bringing Davante Adams this year. The Darren Waller thing hasn't worked out. You could blame that to injuries. You could blame that into, I'm not sure why they can't figure out a way to get Darren Waller and Davante Adams a lot of targets. I don't understand why it seems to be feast or famine. Like, if one is getting a lot of targets, the other isn't. I'm not sure why that's the case. Is that a Derek Carr thing? Is that a scheme thing? Is that a play calling thing? I don't understand that. When you have two guys who create mismatches with physicality and size and speed at two different positions, I would think, much like the Chiefs used to be able to do with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, they both used to eat. So if Andy Reid and them could find a way to both get Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to eat, I'm not sure why the Raiders can't find a way to get Davante Adams and Darren Waller when he's healthy. I'm not sure how both of them can eat. Anyway, with that being said, that brings Derek Carr into attention yet again. And this is where you have to figure out, is this a guy you want to hitch your future to? Is this a guy you want to invest your time into? Because the Raiders certainly are in a position here where if they want to, They could invest themselves in a different QB. If that's where they want to go, let's look at the conference here. I mean, at 4-7, they're definitely not going to win the division. The Chiefs are running away and hiding. They're not even, I mean, already in the mix for a wild card? I doubt it. Let's see. No, they're not going to be in the playoffs. So you're going to have another year not in the playoffs if you're the Raiders. What's the plan going forward? What does the future look like? Josh McDaniel, he got a vote of confidence from Mark Davis. I think that's extremely premature, but it is what it is. I'm not sure what you can expect from this Raider team going forward. The future does not look the greatest. You know, they've gone through a lot over the last year and change. Let's say 2 seasons. I mean, with the whole John Gruden stuff, to the whole Henry Ruggs thing, like they've gone through a lot. There's been a lot of people leaving that front office because of alleged problematic behavior, workplace harassment, toxic workplace atmosphere. Mark Davis, funny with the money, or just not really having the money because the Raiders are literally the only family business. It's literally the only, they're kind of like the Lakers in basketball where Jeannie Buss, the Buss family, their main thing is just, we own the Lakers. Same thing with the Davis family. Their whole thing with Mark Davis is, I own the Raiders, and that's it. So if the money is funny with that, if they're cash poor with that, I mean, to be quite honest, it's hard to imagine someone being cash poor with running an NFL franchise, but here we are. Allegedly, Mark Davis, Las Vegas Raiders, brand new stadium, NFL revenue going crazy. Every team's value keeps going up. I mean, the Broncos were just bought by the whole Walmart empire with the Waltons. I mean, come on, man. How are you cash poor owning a franchise that's as popular as the Raiders? If you were to tell me you're the Houston Texans and get cash poor, you're the Jaguars and get cash poor, maybe I could believe you. Maybe you're the Raiders, a linchpin franchise. I just don't get it. It ain't like he's spending that money on haircuts. Just don't get it. Let's see. Let's move on here from the Raiders. So like the Chargers go as their health goes. Jay Herbo is Jay Herbo. He's him. He's a good enough young QB, great arm. He's physical. He can run when he has to. He's mobile enough to get out the pocket and move around, could throw on the run. Jay Herbo's him. The Chargers thing, seemingly for my entire life, has always been health. If they're healthy, they can make it happen. If they're not healthy, then they're going to give you exciting games. They're going to give you come from behind the games. They're going to blow leads. That's just who the Chargers are as a franchise. And they proved that again today. No Mike Williams, no problem. We'll just come back late in the fourth quarter and still won from the Arizona Cardinals. Rams-Chiefs was supposed to be a game that looked great on paper. That's a game that I'm sure when the schedule makers announced that, they figured that'll be great. Rams, Super Bowl champs, Chiefs, always in the mix for a Super Bowl, champs a few years ago. Great matchup on paper. And then you have Matthew Stafford going down. And then you had just the enigma of the Rams just not looking good, not playing well, and not looking like a team that won a Lombardi a few months ago, earlier this year. So that game was mid. I'm not going to waste too much time. I'll tell you this, though. I was really impressed with the Rams defense, the fact that they were able to keep the Chiefs, because it looked like at one point, because the Chiefs went right down the field first quarter, opening possession went right down the field on them. And even that second drive, it looked like they're like, oh, no, they about to put up a 40 piece on the Rams. But they hung tight, they hung tough, and they gutted out a victory. They kept stopping them in the red zone. And that's where if you can stop the Chiefs, if you could make those sevens turn into threes repeatedly, you have a chance against the Chiefs, because it's not like the Chiefs defense is lights out. So it was an impressive, almost said impressive loss. I don't want to say that. It was an impressive performance by the Rams defense. We will give them that. I think what it will come down to is that offense has no chance of scoring. Absolutely no chance of scoring. So if that's going to be the case and that defense has to damn near pitch shutouts, and you're not going to do that against the Chiefs. You're just not. You're just not. So valiant effort by the Rams, especially on defense. But going up against Mahomes, Kelsey, all of that, Valdez-Scantling had a couple of big catches. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna get it done. You're just not gonna get it done. You go in there, you go into Arrowhead, take your medicine, you prepare for the next week. 4 o'clock window again. Saints, 49ers, another mid game. I would say not even mid. I think mid might be a compliment. It was an ugly game. Why didn't the Niners put up more points? I'm not going to hold you. I was on Red Zone heavy today. And Red Zone, because of that low-scoring game, they stayed away for the most part from the Saints 49ers game. So let's take a little bit of a peek and see if the numbers tell us anything. Let's see. Was it a mid Jimmy G? I mean, you're going up against Andy Dalton. Jimmy G, 37 passes. That's not what you want to see. Only 11 rushing attempts for McCaffrey. He was involved a lot in the passing game. I did see that a few times on Red Zone. 6 targets in the passing game for McCaffrey. So 17. That's not a lot of touches for McCaffrey. That's not. I don't know about that one. Shanahan's a mastermind with that philosophy, with that scheme, with the play calling, but I don't know how against the Saints, unless you want to tell me they put 8-9 in the box, which I don't know why you would do that when they have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Did Kittle not play? It looked like Kittle didn't play either. He didn't. If Kittle played, he didn't. Oh yeah, he did play. He did get a couple targets. Okay, I see him there. Yeah, this is a weird box score. This is a weird box score for the 49ers. Jimmy G had 37 attempts, and 7 of those, tied for second in targets, was Juwan Jennings, not George Kittle. Interesting. McCaffrey, 6 targets. Deebo, 7. Ayuk, 8 targets. Too much passing. I'm not sure what's up with that. We'll let him cook with that. But that was your 4 o'clock slate. And I'm telling you that the Raiders, Seahawks definitely saved us, because the Rams Chiefs was supposed to be the game of the day for the 4 o'clock window. And because of the injury to Stafford, just because the Rams just haven't been living up to expectations, no one was really checking for that game unless you had them in fantasy or for betting reasons. So they saved us. Thank you, Raiders, Seahawks. Thank you, Josh Jacobs. Let's see what else we got here. 1 o'clock window. How good are the Dolphins? Let's go ahead and start that. Tua. What are they now? They're still undefeated in games that he has finished. The Dolphins are undefeated in games that Tua Tagovailoa has finished. If you can imagine that being a stat. Is he the MVP? 1 touchdown today. Almost 300 yards. But again, they have yet to lose in games that he has started and finished. Is he the MVP? Jeff Wilson got hurt. That could be huge. With Mostert not playing today, Jeff Wilson getting hurt, not sure if that's a serious injury or not. They had to dust off Myles Gaskin to go ahead and finish the game. That could be a thing. Because we know McDaniels, we know your man's logic wants to run the rock. Remember when Tyreek Hill was thought to be in the MVP conversation? Boy, that's been quiet. Not that his numbers have been bad, they just haven't been on the ridiculous pace that he was setting earlier in the year. But that was fun, though, when people thought he was going to be like an actual MVP. They was arguing over whether he was going to split votes with Tua. People are funny. But here's what you need to look forward to if you're the Dolphins. Let's see if we can pull it up here. Because It's not a guarantee, but even though the Bills were able to get it done, take care of business on Thanksgiving, I'm not sure if that division is theirs for the taking when you look at what's left on the schedule. As soon as this website will allow, we can run down schedule talk for the Dolphins. Let's see here. Roster. Oh, this is not the best website. I don't know if I could say what the website is, but this is not the best website in the world. Here we go. Okay. So, okay. This could be a little interesting. Let's go. So next week they go to the 49ers. They're in Cali. Oh my God. Oh boy. Let me strike that. Hang on. This schedule's worse than what I thought. I think I took a glance at this a few weeks ago and it's like, oh, that's not that bad. Okay, so they took care of business today against the Texans, 30-15. Next week they go on the road to San Francisco. Now, after what you saw today, that's going to be a big game because obviously McDaniels going back, facing his former team. You know he's going to want to cook something up special for them. Raheem Mostert, who did not play today, but apparently in an interview this week was airing out how bad things were in San Francisco. And now with Jeff Wilson Jr. cooking after being cut, or was he traded or cut? I forget. He ended up in Miami. And with him cooking, also a former 49er, that could be interesting to see what he has to say. But the thing is, they both could be out that game. They both could be talking a whole bunch of junk and not even play. Then they stay in Cali, and they face the Chargers. Now, Tua versus Jay Herbo has been a thing. The Miami Dolphins fan base had this love affair with Justin Herbert once they thought Tua was mid. And Jay Herbo was out here, looking crazy by throwing to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and putting up all types of numbers. And Tua was out here, struggling with Devontae Parker as his number one. So Dolphins fans had this kind of animosity thing or jealousy thing or side-eye thing when it came to the Chargers and Justin Herbert. So we'll see. That now is not an easy game, but as we talked about, the Chargers always find a way. If they're not healthy, they will always find a way to they'll make the game exciting. You know that. They're going to blow a lead. They're going to blow somebody out. Like you just don't know what you're going to get with the LA Chargers. Then it's Buffalo. At Buffalo. Middle of December. At Buffalo. Not good. Not good. Home for the Packers. That's on Christmas Day. New Year's Day, they're at New England. It's going to be cold. And then they're home for the Jets. Yeah, that's not an easy schedule. That's going to be brutal for them coming down the stretch. Do we want to do the Buffalo stuff? Do we want to go to Buffalo? Because that's going to be tough for them. That's a tough schedule. Now with Buffalo, you're worried about one, Josh Allen's elbow, and besides that, Von Miller's his knee? His leg or his knee? At New England on Thursday night. That's big. That's their first time playing them. They play them the first time of the year, Thursday, and then they also play them at the end of the year. Then they face the Jets. Then they have that game at home against Miami. Then they have the Bears. Perfect time to have the Bears. Perfect time. Perfect time to have the Bears. Wow. Christmas Eve at Chicago. Ooh, at Chicago. They still should be able to take care of business. Diggs will run wild there. At the Bengals. Not easy. Both these teams, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Both these teams only have one cupcake left on their schedule. Between the Bills and the Dolphins, they each have one cupcake left on their schedule. So the Dolphins have a chance to get the AFC East. As great as the Bills have looked, as tough as they have looked, as much as they have fought through adversity here over the last 3 to 4 weeks, in not looking as good, but still finding a way to get W's, that division is still not a layup because the Dolphins are right there. One game I enjoyed watching from the 1 o'clock window outside of Ravens Jaguars, because I'm always here for Lamar, and I think the fact of the Ravens still not giving Lamar his money, and the feeling as though every game is a referendum on whether Lamar should get his money or not is ridiculous. But besides that game, where is it here? Let me make sure. Let's go to Bears-Jets. Bears-Jets. Full disclosure, the Bears were the team of my youth, but I think very intelligently let them go years ago after they tricked off the Super Bowl in the rain on Collins Ave out there in South Beach. Smartly got off that narcotic. And never forget that fandom is a mental illness. Fandom is short for fanatic, fanaticism, mental illness. It's all there. So, Bears, Jets. The Jets proved to us, not to me per se, because I've kind of known. Number one, that your man's Wilson, he ain't him. He ain't him. Mike White. This is the second year in a row Mike White's done this, right? Didn't he go crazy in the game last year and had Jets fans thinking Zach Wilson wasn't it? Let's just go with Mike White. And now for another year, Mike White, fresh off the bench, comes in and lights up a team. And he's throwing to receivers that, for some reason, Zach Wilson couldn't find. Hello, Garrett Wilson. Hello, Elijah Moore. Again, this Jet team, because of the way that Joe Douglas has orchestrated or built this roster, they are a quarterback away. Now, I don't think that quarterback is Mike White, so let's not play that. I think he could be solid enough to be a placeholder, way more effective than Zach Wilson ever will be. I watched Zach Wilson twice his rookie year in person through my job at the time, and I was just like, oh, no, he ain't him. This guy is not, nope. Like, I'm on the sidelines watching. So I got a good purview and just could see what he's saying. I'm like, oh, no, he's not. The reads are not what they're supposed to be. Like, nope, that ain't going to be it. And now finally it looks like Robert Saleh and the organization may be beginning to turn the page. And Zach Wilson, who showed no accountability. If you're going to do something in this league, it's to stick around in this league per se. For sure, if you want to stick around in this league, you have to play the game. And Zach Wilson, after that putrid offensive performance last week, refused to have any accountability. They lost 10-3. They had 2 yards in the second half. And Zach Wilson, no. Do you feel bad about the defense? No. Do you feel like you let the defense down? No. Zach Wilson, I don't know what they saw. But Mike White, and again, this is a team in the Jets where they've never been short on weapons with this new regime. Under this Joe Douglas regime, they've been nothing but short on weapons. If Mike White can find Garrett Wilson, how come Zach Wilson can't? If Mike White could find Elijah Moore, then how come Zach Wilson couldn't? I could go down the line with Tyler Conklin. I mean, and they dusted off C.J. Uzuma, who's been in and out of the lineup. Like, nah, this Jet team is just a quarterback away. And that's the frustrating part, because you invested twice in trying to get that franchise QB. Sam Darnold flamed out. Then you spin the block again. Zach Wilson bottoming out. And it was like, yo, if you could have just took just a mid QB, a mid QB, not even a stud, just a mid competent run of the mill QB, you will be like the Jets might make the playoffs in spite of having horrific quarterback play. Imagine if they had competent QB play, they could be like the Dolphins. They could be in that Dolphins mix where it's like, yo, we're right there. And even despite that, they're still low-key right there. You just know they're clearly a step below the Bills and the Dolphins because the Bills and the Dolphins have good to great QB play. And the Jets have Mike White. So that's just, it's a weird thing. But they looked good today. I mean, everyone should look good on the Bears, especially a Bears team with no Justin Fields. I mean, the Bears were so bad, they had no idea who was literally going to start the football game for them, even after the coin toss, even after the anthem, even after the jet flyover. They still had no idea who's going to start at quarterback. It ended up being Trevor Siemian because, of course it did. Of course it did. The Jets are a QB away. A QB away from being not only good, but like second round in the playoffs good. Divisional round good. Not just wild card weekend, like divisional round. They can win the defense is ready. The defense is ready. They just need the offense. And it's not even the offense because they have receivers. They have a bunch of running backs. The offensive line is solid. They just need a quarterback. It ain't going to be Mike White, but Mike White is clearly already better than Zach Wilson. I mean, he was better than Zach Wilson last time. Why they went away from him, I think that goes into the draft status and the contract and all of that. And, you know, I think at some point teams will learn that just because we drafted somebody high, if that person's not performing, you got to let them go. Why can't teams just do like the Cardinals did with Josh Rosen? Oh, this is not going to work. Now, I'm sure there were other things at play there, and that's been insinuated as much. But in regards to making it happen and just understanding, oh, he's not a fit here. He's not going to work here. He's not a fit here. Let's just go ahead and cut our losses while we can. And you see, Josh Rosen is nowhere to be found in this league. Nowhere to be found. Zach Wilson. The Denver Broncos, are they still a quarterback away? Even after signing Russell Wilson to a 5-year extension, which means they're going to have him for 7 years. 7 years of Russell Wilson. You were in year one of 7 years, potentially 7 years of Russell Wilson. And if it wasn't for a garbage time TD, they were only going to put up a field goal on the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers. A team that started Sam Darnold, who we just talked about flaming out with the Jets. Russell Wilson lost to Sam Darnold today. I would say, oh, how the mighty have fallen, but I don't know if I ever classified Russell Wilson to be mighty in the first place. But this is interesting. If you're the Broncos, no one's going to take that contract. Russell Wilson is like another Russell. He's Russell Westbrook of the NFL. No one's taking that contract. No one. So what are you going to do with Russell Wilson? I would love an answer because I don't have it. I don't have a competent enough answer besides just eating that contract. And, you know, look, the Walmart, the Waltons, they got it. It ain't like they don't got it. They got it. I just don't know if they wanted to jump out the window and spend that. To admit after 1 year, oh, this Russell Wilson thing is not going to work. Let's cut our losses. This is a business, right? We see business moves get made all the time. Layoffs are happening en masse all over the place. Budgets are being slashed all over the place. And the NFL is one of those things where if they wanted to cry broke, they can cook the books enough to make you, the public, believe that they somehow are broke. Hi, Mark Davis. Hi, Daniel Snyder. Allegedly. So, the Panthers, they're clearly tanking, but they can't tank if they keep winning. I mean, you're starting Sam Darnold, you're pretty much trying to tank. They've traded everyone who wanted to leave, is gone. Robbie Anderson, who's doing nothing with the Cardinals. He cried and whined his way out. He's doing nothing with the Cardinals. He's making cameos on Hard Knocks, not in a good way. He's just kind of there in the background. He's not actually catching passes or making an impact. And then they got C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey, up out of there, and he's been okay with the 49ers, but I don't think he's been. He's more of a I won't say he's a decoy, but he hasn't the usage rate of what he used to incur as a Panther. That's not being followed with the 49ers, which you could assume because they got more weapons, but still, a running back, even when a running back with the receiving ability of a C-Mac, you would think. Like, again, only 6 targets in the passing game, 11 rushes. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. But let's jump back to Russ, because I think that's the most fascinating part. Because, again, the Broncos are not a team with no weapons. Cortland Sutton is solid. I don't see Jerry Jeudy here, so I'm assuming he was hurt coming into this, I'm going to assume. I thought they discovered a tight end a few weeks ago, and when it was in Germany, and I thought he was going to be something. I picked him up, Greg Dulcich. I thought he was going to be something. I picked him up at fantasy because Russell loves going to the tight end. Well, when he unearths a tight end, he normally forces that tight end to rock, but not doing it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's play calling. The narrative of letting Russ cook what? It's not working for him. It's not working for him. It's not working for them, as in the Broncos. None of it's good. None of it is good. Who wants to say the thing about Tom Brady? I mean, I said it on the podcast a few episodes ago. Again, want to check out the Cindy podcast. Link is in the description. But who wants to say the thing about Tom Brady? This whole divorce thing has not worked out well for him. No Leonard Fournette today. Their leading rusher was Julio Jones. That should tell you about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense today. Julio Jones was tied for the most rushing yards. Right. Chris Godwin. What's up with Mike Evans? Mike Evans, he had that, what was it, the Panthers game, right, where he had that drop. He's been a little off since that drop. Let's go through the game logs here real quick. Is that really a thing? Yeah, his numbers are pedestrian since that Panther game. And that Panther game was a good game. He just had a huge drop. Ravens, that next week against the Ravens, he had a big numbers game, but a lot of his yards, he had 123 yards, but 51 of those came on one play. Yeah, he's in that 40 to 50 range ever since then. And that's just not, I don't know if that's a him thing or a Brady thing, but that could speak to the arm strength. Because Chris Godwin is eating. Chris Godwin got 13 targets today. Mike Evans had 9 targets, but only 2 receptions. What's up with that? I guess Gronk ain't coming back. I mean, if you're Gronk, why would you at this point? If you were going to come back to the Bucs would have to be running through that division, and they're not. They can trick this division off. If it wasn't for the Falcons falconing on the road against Washington, yeah, the Bucs would be in trouble. The whole division is under 500. NFC South, all of them are under 500. And if you're the Bucs, yeah, 5-6. Falcons are 5-7. Panthers are 4-8. Saints are 4-8. Yeah, this is oof. You can't even pencil dubs. You can't even really go through this schedule. Let's go through the Bucs schedule real quick as they finish up here. Oh God. Yeah, this schedule's not easy. Oof. Okay. So they have the Saints. Saints at home next week. We can assume that's a dub. At 49ers. Can't say that's a dub. Home for the Bengals. Can't say that's a dub. At Arizona. Can't find me the automatic win. You can say the Saints game, but I don't know if that's true. At the Cardinals, I don't know. Home for the Panthers, maybe. At Atlanta to wrap up the year, like that could mean something. That game could be for the division. As crazy as that sounds, Bucks at Atlanta. Brady going into the dome. That's amazing. No one would have ever guessed that Bucks Falcons at the end of the year might be for the division. Maybe in terms of the Bucks clinching the division, but not for literally no. Both teams, the winner coming out of that game could be the NFC South champion. No one had that. Crazy. Let's see here. We got the night game going. The Eagles are already up 13-7. Hopefully that is because A.J. Brown is doing A.J. Brown things for fantasy reasons for your boy. But let's see. There's one more game I want to touch on, and then we'll wrap it up so we can focus on Sunday Night Football. Bengals Titans. Yeah, we'll focus on Bengals Titans. Another team that is a quarterback away, the Tennessee Titans. I am tired of Ryan Tannehill. I'm just tired of. I'm not a fan of any team, but I'm just tired of just knowing that Ryan Tannehill exists in the way of teams keep believing in the fact that he's okay enough, that he is good enough to lead them somewhere. Where is Ryan Tannehill going to lead you? Their leading receiver today was Derrick Henry. Their leading receiver today was Derrick Henry. They traded A.J. Brown. Speaking of A.J. Brown, the Titans traded away A.J. Brown, and I still haven't unearthed a actual reason. That wasn't financial. So I wish I would just say, yeah, we just don't want to pay him. But seeing the impact he's had for Philly, it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to pay that? You paid Tannehill, but you didn't foresee that you probably need to save some bread to pay A.J. Brown, the guy that essentially has made Ryan Tannehill not look like Ryan Tannehill for Miami. It's just weird. It's just weird. Front office is weird when it comes to decision making like that. The Tennessee Titans are a quarterback away. They're wasting a solid defense. I know statistically they're up there, but to me they're a little bend don't break. But when it comes to that offense is so constipated. It's so constipated. 17 rushes for 38 yards for your man's King Henry. Crazy. This they win with smoke and mirrors. They keep the game close. The defense makes a play or two. King Henry breaks one or two, and then they go out there and they beat you by 3. And they try to live and die by that today, and they lose to a Bengals team that, again, if they're healthy, they're like the Chargers. They're in that Chargers territory. If they're healthy, there's not a lot of teams that can see them, and they took that all the way to the Super Bowl last year. But with no Jamar Chase again today, T. Higgins did his best Jamar Chase impression, but it's not the same. It's not as impactful. And again, what's up with Joe Mixon? I was not aware that Joe Mixon was like severely hurt. I mean, he's always banged up because he's just a physical runner, but P. Ryan got the carries today. But when it comes right down to it, the Titans are a quarterback away. The Bengals are probably having a Super Bowl hangover. I don't think they made any significant improvements. They tried to pump up the offensive line a little bit, but in regards to taking the next step, I think the next step for them was to get better defensively, and I just don't see the improvements there. But the Titans, man, the Titans, I just don't understand. The identity is clearly run the ball to set up the pass. The problem is, even if King Henry's going off, you're setting up Ryan Tannehill to throw to Whomst. Because that's why you should have signed and hung on to A.J. Brown. So when King Henry is going off, you're setting up Ryan Tannehill to throw to another mismatch in A.J. Brown. But, what do I know? But yeah, that's our run through the games today. Gonna try to do this again for the rest of the season. So we'll be back week 13 NFL recap, same deal. Once the 4:00 games are done, I'll hop on here, set up the stream. Hopefully, if you subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't, do so. Link is right there. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, all that type of good stuff, the YouTube stuff that lets people know that you're enjoying the content. And I'll be back again next Sunday. I like doing these. This sets up my week pretty good in terms of getting content out. It sets me up, puts me in a good mindset to do podcast. And my podcast will be dropping probably Tuesday. I'll make this audio available for the podcast audience. So if you missed any of this live, you will be getting an audio-only version of it on my podcast feed. So again, subscribe to that if you haven't done that already. Check that out. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing this. Week 13 soon come. A lot more games kicking off, starting with Thursday night. And I'll holler at y'all next week Sunday. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it as always.